Welcome to the Last Poll podcast. I'm here with I want to just say like the ghouls. But
Most people do.
How you want to be
Yeah.
called?
Easy way to address this for sure. Yeah.
Ghoul X Ghoul. but yeah, how you doing? So I should probably start us off with kind of like a little bit of context how this actually happened. So I was actually on the Twitch category and I saw you folks streaming the other day and I was like, huh, they kind of remind me of Embry and Ruiner and they're like Project Dyad because they're like a couple streamer as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was like watching. I don't know if you've met them, but you should because like very similar setup, right? So I was like, huh, that's really
cool.
interesting, and so I was watching for a bit and I was like, oh, they're like super new. And for me, because I've played the game since 2012, like pretty consistently since 2012 as well, I typically don't like watching people play for too, because I feel this compulsion to like want to help you, but I know that that's a bad thing because you should be experiencing it without me backseating the whole time. So I'll like watch for a bit, and then the moment that I get that compulsion, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop, or I'm gonna like say something, and it's gonna make their experience worse. So my understanding is that you folks are probably like around level 40 or so now, and that you've just been experiencing the game. You tried a PvP match.
Close.
Yeah. So how'd you find Guild? Well, I should probably say, so this podcast started because you guys rated into me and I was like, wait, I recognize that name. And then I put the context together and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I just said, hey, maybe we should get on this podcast and talk about your new player experiences. And here we are. So I'm really curious about how you've been approaching Guild Wars 2 in 2025.
Well, we were on a hunt for an MMO and we just tried like 5?
Yeah, we've tried 5 total MMOs this summer. We've hit max level in like all of them. And every time that we've done it, we're just like, it's missing something. It's missing something. And most recently, we tried Elder Scrolls Online.
Yep.
And it felt like we were meeting halfway. It was like it had a lot of things we wanted, but then it was missing some stuff. And every MMO, it also feels like you get into it, you start it, and you're like, oh, when I get to max level, I'll be able to experience this MMO. Oh, when I do this, then I'll be able to play the, like it'll feel good to play. But with Guild Wars 2, it was like instant. And so we've just been really, really enjoying it so far. And that's why we've kind of stuck with it and continued to play.
Have you been able to sort of pinpoint why that is? Why there's that instant, you just feel like it works?
Yeah. So a big one is we're a duo stream, and when we play together, there's a lot of barriers for something to call itself an MMO. There's a lot of barriers when you're a brand new player that you can't really play together. Like if you choose a story or a mission, you have to then like desync or go into some kind of instance by yourself solo. And so there's times when we're playing these games, it's like, okay, she's doing a boss, I'm doing the same boss, but we're not doing it together. And so she'll beat it or I'll beat it. And then we're just kind of like, okay, well, when you're done, we'll keep going. But with Guild Wars 2, everything is instanced. Everything is synced together all the way from level 1. When you go to do a boss or even a story, it says, do you want to join this person's instance? Yes. They complete their objective. Do you want to complete the objective too? You click yes. It's like so interesting that right off the bat, the game is actually able to be played together in a party. So if you have a group of 4 friends, you can go in and do everything together from the get-go, as long as you pick the same race.
Yeah.
I actually had never thought about that.
We did that. It's crazy. I mean, like we experience it because like you said, we're duo stream and
none of them have that.
None of them have that. And we picked kind of like a different like story, like at the start when you do your character creation, you can kind of pick your path and then you like sign your name. We picked a slightly different path. So then our main story was like a little different.
Oh yeah.
But you were able to join in on me and watch all of my cutscenes with me.
Yeah, I did all of her side story with her and she was able to do it all with me by just, again, joining that instance but the only difference is at the end she can't click yes to complete an objective because she has a different objective.
Yeah, but I got
But
to
she still got
go
to
with
play
it.
it with me, do all of it with me, which is so interesting because, again, you just can't do that in other MMOs where you're supposed to be multiplayer focused, doing things in a party.
I think I've massively taken this for granted because I mostly play Guild Wars, right? I never even thought about this being a problem because when a new patch comes along, I load in and I go, who wants to do the story with me? And then 5 of us just go event to event to event to complete every new part of the story chapter, do all the achievements together, and we're like, sweet, it's over. Let's go do something else now. I've
so
never
nice.
considered that would be an issue. And wow, that is really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple other things, the kind of like fantasy experience, a lot of the MMOs that we've dropped into, the cosmetics are so heavy and overbearing that it almost takes you out of it, where it doesn't feel like you're in that fantasy world anymore. Somebody passes you by in like New York street clothes and you're just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, that's fine. Let's just get back into it.
You think
Like
that
the
Guild Wars
hipster hat.
doesn't suffer from that problem?
I think it's something to do with the way that it's contrasted. We've seen quite a few people, like I saw a guy in a Speedo the other day, but for some reason he doesn't feel as out of place.
I saw a guy with a duck helmet the other day.
Yeah. It doesn't feel as out of place as in some other games. And I don't really know how to put my finger on that. Like, Guild Wars 2 feels more like a fantasy world, whereas when we were playing like Elder Scrolls Online and a few others, it feels like you're taken back to a medieval realm. So when somebody is looking weird and out of the ordinary, you're like, that's weird. But in Guild Wars 2, everything is like super shiny. We're like living amongst tree people and stuff. So like it's very like, oh, they're from out of town. You know what I mean? Like they exist in this world, just a different town.
That's so interesting because my perspective as a long-time Guild Wars franchise person is actually a little bit different. I look at Guild Wars 2 as sort of an abomination of Guild Wars 1 because in Guild Wars 1 the tone was very different. The tone was very much that medieval realm. You know, it's like a little bit gritty. The tone of the story is a bit darker. But in Guild Wars 2 everything is a bit lighter and fluffy, it feels like. And so I often tell people, I'm like, yeah, like I actually view this as kind of immersion breaking sometimes, but it's interesting to hear from your perspective that it's probably not quite as bad as what other games are like. I only have a couple games to contrast. I've never played Final Fantasy and I've never played ESO. I've played WoW Classic and old school RuneScape. So to me, those WoW Classic didn't have that problem at all, right? Because there's not really cosmetics in it like that. And then old school RuneScape, it kind of does it, but it's like part of the charm of the game. Probably similar to what you just said about Guild Wars 2. So that kind of makes sense to me, but I've never thought about it like that. I think if you play Guild Wars 1, you'll kind of see the contrast, but maybe it won't bother you as much because this is like 200 years in the future and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we never tried Guild Wars 1. This is our first experience. I don't know if you have. I haven't.
No, I've never.
But this is our first experience with Guild Wars. While that you guys were talking, another thing that I realized as well is kind of the map immersion and just going with the quest. When we've played other MMOs, and trust me, we've played so many. We just came from Black Desert. We just tried that one. We just tried also ESO right before trying Guild Wars 2. And when we were questing, not only did a lot of the quests feel kind of tedious, but I just didn't feel immersed in the world. You're instantly jumping from one place to another. Like in Elder Scrolls Online, you can teleport to a friend at any time. We were so excited to see how big the map was. And then all of a sudden you're able to teleport to a completely different area instantly.
That you've never been. And even if your friend isn't there, you can still go somewhere nearby. Whereas Guild Wars 2 is like only the starting zones. So it's not so instant, which makes the world have that kind of like feel that it's large. Because I honestly think that Elder Scrolls Online map may be larger, like square footage wise.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it feels way smaller because everything is so instant the moment you start the game. So you never have to walk across the field and that sort of thing.
But they don't make it feel like in Guild Wars 2, we're doing a lot of walking. but we finally got our mounts because we bought the bundle. But we were
Good.
doing a lot of walking, and it didn't feel like, oh my goodness, like this is taking forever to get here to here. Like the way that they do the hearts and where you fill them up, like you feel excited to complete something, and people can do it with you at any point. So we kind of are trailing and doing it together, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm getting immersed in the map and learning about, you know, like the city and the people. And
well, I think that's because everything's localized. Whereas in other games, they give you a quest and you're instantly like, you're now a messenger, you're doing an escort, you're doing something like that where you're going here, there, and everywhere. But the way that this game gives you stuff, it's very localized, like you said, to the hearts, where it's like you get into an area, you're told about the conflict in that space, you help out that space, you go to the next space. And if they're next to each other, they'll have similarities, and it feels like progression along this much larger quest instead of please help me with my farm because somebody like the Defias messed with it. And then it's like, oh, so the Defias are the problem in this zone, sure. But then you get sent back to Stormwind, and it just feels like you're a messenger going all over the place. But with this game, it's like very localized. You do the thing in this space, you go to the next space, you have a new thing.
Really? Okay, before I say any more, I realize I should probably ask you this. Do you want me to tell you like history of the game at all? Not necessarily like story spoilers, but you know, like rationale for why they have hearts and those kinds of things, or is that something you would rather kind of figure out?
No, please, that would be great.
Okay. So the reason that they put hearts in is because they initially didn't have hearts and the game was very sandboxy. Like imagine every map you've completed right now without a heart. So everything was just events. So the game, they tested that with people, and people would log in. There's no quest system other than events. They'd walk around and they'd go, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Because if there's not an event up, then they're like, huh, where do I go? What do I do? And they would just kind of lose interest because there was no direction. So Guild Wars still doesn't have a lot of direction, but hearts were specifically put in the core maps to give people some semblance of an idea of what to do. And so it's interesting that you like the hearts, because hearts are kind of, I think generally in the community, people are kind of torn on them. Some people like the hearts, and then other people kind of feel like it interrupts the flow. But the reason that they interrupt the flow is to get it so that you know where to go and what to do. Yeah,
I definitely feel that. As a new player, I think they're very good. It makes things kind of make sense. Whereas if we were just relying on the events, don't get me wrong, when there is an event and it's near one of the hearts we're doing, we're like, oh, let's go do it. But very often the events, we'll get like a message and we'll check the map and it's so far away. And it's like, do I really want to heel toe it over there? I don't have a mount. I'm just trying this game, trying to see if it's right for me. I think the hearts kind of keep you invested and keep you doing things without getting burnt out.
Yeah. I also think it really sets the game apart, because most MMOs that we've played, you know, you see the little yellow exclamation point on their head.
Oh.
Area, and I'm automatically like, it triggers a thing like, okay, kill these or do this, and it gives me like a thing to do. I don't know, it just makes me feel way more immersed than just talking to Steve over there and taking his quest and finding him milk, or, you know, I don't know. I like that.
Yeah, somebody walks up to you and they're like, hey, just so you know, the centaurs, they're like killing that entire village over there. Can you do something about that? Please? And you're like, no, I'm actually just going to keep going toward the personal story icon over there. And they're like, okay, city's going to burn down. It's fine. Yeah, it does add stuff to do along the way. It makes it feel like the world is really alive and that you're really involved in it. I think that's one of the beauties of Guild Wars 2. I'm curious, you talked a little bit about mounts and getting your mounts. I think people generally have kind of a split opinion about the inclusion of mounts in the base game. Since you've had an experience where you weren't using a mount and then you now are, do you think that mounts are better, or worse, or do they just change things for you? Like how have mounts changed the way that you play the game?
I'm curious about your opinion.
I think personally I would probably cap them or move them to like level 30 or something, because the way that we were doing the starting area, when we were given the mount at like level 10, it was like, oh, cool, let's use it. But everything was so close together that it felt like we didn't really need it. And then when we started to go to further areas, it was still that thing of like going heart to heart. So if we did ever get on the mount, it was like literally for like 3 to 4 seconds. So I don't think players would miss it as much. But then because we had the mount, when people were like, oh, you should go try this world boss in our chat, it was like, sure, let's go do it. And then we could go do that. But I think that also took away a bit from the experience, like just going across the continent as a level 20, not really knowing our class, not really, you know what I mean? Like the shrinking it down and making the world feel large because you have to walk from each thing keeps it so that you kind of don't sidetrack yourself. You don't lose sight of the next goal, because the game is also kind of teaching you while you're doing those. They have like the little guy that's like, oh, dodge into this circle and you can grab this thing. Okay, cool. Now we know how to dodge. The first jump puzzle kind of thing is like kind of walking you through those mechanics and that stuff like that. So I think if you want the game to progress more naturally for like a new player experience, capping it to 30 would be good. But for people that have already acquired a mount, they should probably be able to get it at level 10.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, one of the biggest really points of contention about the inclusion of mounts is that mounts can trivialize a lot of parts of the game. And so you don't engage with systems as much as you might otherwise. But the problem is that if you don't include mounts and everyone else has a mount, then you're left behind all the time. So it's kind of necessary that everybody gets a mount pretty early on. I don't know if it has to be at level 10 or 30 or whatever, but you kind of need it early on to not feel like everyone's just outpacing you all the time. This is especially true for like events that have like a lot of movement around. But there, I mean, you've seen probably a lot of the mounts around. You probably haven't gotten them yet, but you've seen that there are different mounts. Yeah. So it wouldn't be spoilery if I talked about them, right? Like you've seen the dragon, you've probably seen the griffin to some extent. You've seen like all these different things. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a handful, but I haven't obviously seen every single mount, but it's not spoiled to us if you talk about them at all.
Okay.
No.
I think we're also lucky to come in when we did. We have that like festival event going on. So we kind of we went in there and saw a lot of higher level players. We saw how they were moving around, that sort of thing. But at the same time, they're having this anniversary thing. So like we just made beta characters and tried that. So like we have level 80s and we're completely overwhelmed and we're just like, yeah, we're going back to our regular characters. This is cool.
Yeah.
But we've at least kind of seen it and like had a taste. So I don't think it'll spoil.
It was overwhelming.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun.
It can be quite overwhelming. I usually tell people not to use the boost right away unless they're really bored. But usually using the boost ends, and you end up having more problems if you use the boost because you don't get exposed to any of the systems really, and you just are running into higher level areas and you have all of these tools but you don't know how to use them. It can be quite frustrating. But anyway, back to the mounts. You can break a lot of... Have you done a jumping puzzle yet?
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty quickly, yeah.
We did so well.
Jumping puzzles are super cool and kind of... I don't know if they're totally unique, but they're pretty unique to Guild Wars 2. I think it's well known that Guild Wars likes to do the jumping puzzles. But one of the problems with mounts is that mounts allow you to skip a lot of jumping puzzles. They've put little debuffs in the area that force you off mounts, but you can go just outside a lot of these and like fly up really high and then yeet yourself into the zone and like get to the end chest. So
that is wild.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons to this, of course, but I'm of the opinion that mounts add a lot to the game. And I think Guild Wars does mounts probably the best of any MMORPG I've seen.
Yeah, we've noticed that as well instantly. Like a lot of mounts feel almost not a part of the game. Like it's like just purely transportation. but instantly with like the raptor, you can see that they're doing something different with the mounts, like being able to do a longer kind of jump, and then also having an ability to engage a fight or get off of the raptor with like a cool little tail whip on the enemies and stuff like that. That's so different compared to other MMOs, where again it feels like the mount is a part of the world instead of just something that it like flagging down a bus or something like that.
And the 2-person mounts, I love that one person like controls it and then the other person does like all the abilities. I was like, this is so cool.
Isn't it crazy that
I felt empowered?
Only the turtle can do that, and I keep saying
that's the one we tried. Yeah,
they need to make it so that you can upgrade all mounts to have an extra saddle, so that somebody else can sit on the mount with you. They don't even need to make it so that you have special abilities like firing a cannon. I just think it'd be cool if you're like on a raptor and you like extend your hand out and pull somebody else on top of the raptor with you and you're traveling around together. Like I think that's kind of cool. I especially think that would be cool if they did that with flying mounts, because what that would mean is that people what went through my head is like, it's basically like the Aladdin on the magic carpet. Like, I'm going to take you on this like cool magic carpet ride. And then you're just on a griffin with somebody flying all around the map and they're doing cool tricks and you get to just experience that. You might not have I don't have the skill to do some of the cool tricks that people do with griffins at really high speed, but I could experience them with somebody that does have those skills. Yeah, there's a content creator, Willow. They have a guild. I'm trying to remember what the guild. It's called like the Wing Academy or something. It's like Wing. It's Wing, but I can't remember like the exact. Yeah, they do tricks, and they like do coordinated griffin rides and create obstacle courses and stuff. It's really
like Blue
cool.
Angels.
So like synchronized swimming, but with mounts.
Yeah. So for one of the expansions, which you haven't gotten to yet, so probably don't watch this video because it'll spoil, but watch it eventually. But ArenaNet actually had, I think it was Willow and maybe a couple other members of Wing, or maybe it was just Willow, I'm not sure. But they did a promotion for Secrets of the Obscure where they flew around the maps in like a cool way. Pretty neat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's Griffin Academy. Okay, I was close.
We've experienced quite a bit of the game. Another one that was interesting, when we were playing Elder Scrolls and a few others, they had their sort of like loot box setups and that sort of thing. We just recently found out about the Black Lion boxes whatever they're called. And we, being new players, the game just kind of gives you one right off the bat. And Jasmine opened hers and got something that everybody was freaking out. I don't know
what's good in this game. So we both decide to open one. He opens his first. Everybody's like, boo, you got nothing, loser. You know? And then I opened mine. I was like, oh, dang, I didn't get anything. And then all of a sudden chat's like, OMG, OMG, no way, no way. I was like, what? And it's like a alien tube chair.
It's like registered as a chair, but she's like in a floating tube.
Oh yeah.
And the bubbles are.
That was my first chest I ever opened.
And then
that's pretty
they just did the promotion to get the next free key. And now she's got this winged helmet.
It's the second chest I opened up. I got this like cool helmet with like these blue wings
on it. That's actually pretty unlikely to happen in 2 chests.
That's what exactly. We've only done 2 so far, and I was like, the math is not mathing on this. This is like lottery level.
And then right after it, somebody sent us like a Gamba, die set, and then I got a rare die, and they're like, of course you got a rare one or something. I'm just taking all the luck for both of us.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the only chests I've opened.
My recent big win is, as you've seen, the festival's on, and this festival is known for extreme gambling because people, it's a big material dump, so everybody dumps their materials for these boxes that can give you mega rare infusions. So I opened, I think it was like between 2,000 and 3,000 boxes. So I spent
gosh.
Wow.
That's nothing. I know a guy that opened 1 million. So
I was able to afford 2.
Yeah, it's
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So I probably spent 200 or 300 gold, which for new players is a lot of gold, but for me it's like not that much. So I opened these boxes thinking, I just want to get the achievements, and then I pulled out. At the time, it was like 9,000 gold. I think it's probably closer to 4,000 now, with so many being injected into the economy. But I got a mega rare infusion, so it's pretty wild. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. I
That's a YouTube
collect
short
that
right
stuff.
there.
Well, it's funny because I didn't do it on stream because I was just I
No.
didn't even think about it.
Oh, come
Well, but the
on.
even funnier thing is I've done that same thing 3 years in a row. 1 year I got an even rarer infusion. The year after I got a really rare infusion, and then this year, and it's every single time. So I'm way in the positive for all of this, but I open the same number of chests every year to get all the achievements done, and then I don't do any more. And every year I get something crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
It's
I never
okay.
do it on
We'll
stream. I don't know
share
why.
luck with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Snub and I will share a little bit of our
Yeah,
luck
one
with
of
you.
you
You'll
log
get
into my
something.
account, please.
Yeah, it's $5
Yeah.
every time you want me to pull for you on your account.
Yeah. I also, to be honest, I don't know if I would do it on stream. I have a bit of a weird thing. This requires a little bit of context. So I actually,
Okay.
I'm a PhD student in marketing. I study consumer behavior, and one of my big areas of research is gambling behaviors. Another big area of interest is influencer marketing. So where I'm going with this is I read about gambling like all day, every day, right? It's like what I do. I read and write about
Don't tell
gambling.
about my problems.
And so I look at some of these things and I go, oh, like, is it a good idea for me to promote gambling to people? And I don't cast judgment on anybody for doing this. I think it's very normalized, actually. But I sit there and I kind of go, ooh, like, where is my line? Like, what should I do? I don't know what the answer to that is, but it always makes me feel a bit weird, right? Because I just spend so much time in that realm.
Yeah, I think how we approach it, we've never really spent any money on it or anything in these types of games. We always do it free to play, and I think that's what kind of makes it fun for us, because we know that that's our limit, and we know that if we are going to get anything that's a chase item or something like that, we're going to get it as free to play. That kind of generates more hype than being somebody or a streamer that's like, well, I'm going to go spend another $500 on this, so I'm definitely going to get
Yeah.
it this
Do I
time,
want to,
guys.
though?
It's like,
Yeah, that's
like
the
not
thing that
at
scares
that point,
me,
it's
right?
not gambling. You're just dumping money, and it's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
But that's always
Yeah.
how we've done it in games we played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I'm fine with that because I think naturally, like, you're just exploring the world and stuff can drop or not drop, like whatever, right? That's not gambling, right? But the second that you're like, all right, everybody, you should definitely do this too. That's where I'm like, ooh, because of the like real money to gold exchange, and people can spend real money on the keys. Like, it makes me slightly uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, all right,
Yeah.
everybody, credit cards up. We type
Yeah.
in together. Let's go.
you know, and I don't
Same
know what's
time.
real or true or not, but sometimes I read that people like. I think there was a post. Again, I don't know if it was a meme or not, but I think I saw a post on the forums once where somebody was like, "I actually have a problem," right? Like, and they were spending like thousands of dollars on Black Lion keys,
no.
and that's when I think things get a little bit murky. But anyway, that's an interesting aside. Yeah,
Yeah, one of the MMOs we tried was Black Desert Online.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, yeah.
I think that was actually one of the turnoffs for the game for us, was when we were going from stream to stream, like, let's see what other content creators are doing and see what kind of content we will end up making when we get to the late game. And like almost every streamer was hard farming to get to the gamble chests, and then or was it like gamble upgrading or something?
Yeah.
Like upgrading your items was a gamble.
So like you click to like upgrade your item, and there's a chance, like a small percent chance, you might get this good buff on it, or I don't know. And then if they didn't get it, then it's like,
And they just roll that
Yeah.
for an hour, and
It's
then
like
they're
slot
like, well,
machines.
didn't get it. Okay, back to 6 hours of grinding for it. But then you have other content creators that are like, oh, I'm not going to grind. I'm just going to spend the money. and try it that way. So it just ends up being like this money pit. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this game's not for us.
I have heard that about BDO. That's very much true. So what? So you tried BDO, you tried ESO. What were the other MMOs you've tried this summer?
We tried Crystal of Atlan. We did the playtest for Chrono Odyssey.
Crystal
of Atlan is like
I've never
it's
heard of
really
that.
really weird. It's like a Genshin Impact style, like that's what it looks like.
Oh, it's
but
a mobile
it's not
game,
not that way at all. It's very much an MMO. It was way different than any MMO we ever tried. We didn't stick with it very long.
No,
we gave it a try.
It was definitely interesting, but it suffered from a lot of problems, and I think that is because they allow you to play it on mobile as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one thing that it did well that I'm noticing that Guild Wars 2 is doing well is that the PvP wasn't so punishing as for just being a new player.
Yeah.
Like if you play World of Warcraft PvP or even like Final Fantasy PvP, like if you have certain items or certain things, like you're just going to outperform everyone in the group. Whereas with Crystal of Atlan and I don't know if Guild Wars 2 does it this way, but we just tried it on the beta and it felt like it does it this way. It like upgrades you to 80. You've got all of your abilities. You've got all the talent points done. I don't know. Is there a gear difference?
I know you pick a relic,
well,
which could determine stuff. But
is there like gear scaling in PvP?
If you play PvP in Guild Wars 2, you're saying in PvP,
yeah,
your gear doesn't really matter very much because you essentially get like another. How do I even explain this? In PvP, as long as you're wearing armor, it just scales it. Yeah, but then you select a few key things, right? Like an amulet. But in the PvP like UI, you'll see that it's like it's supposed to be more standardized for balance reasons and stuff.
Yeah, that feels a lot better than like dropping into a battleground and somebody that's played for years just has like everything in the game and rolls you. And it's like, oh, well.
I don't know. Okay, so here's let me pose this question to you. Does it feel better to queue for PvP and get absolutely annihilated by people who have played for years that are just way better than you? Or does it feel better to get beat because somebody has better gear and you just realize, oh, I just haven't gotten there yet?
I come from League of Legends, so it's like you just get good. Like, I'd much rather have that
by somebody that has the skill that like either has the rotation down or knows it or has done it, rather than they have better gear, and that was like a huge play.
Yeah, to me that feels accessible as well. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly, but here's where I think things become tricky. There's it's pretty hard to get that skill. So I think a lot of people would agree with the sentiment that there's sort of this earned right to win if you just become more skillful. But in Guild Wars 2, getting more skillful is like a little bit opaque. It's like, how do you actually do that? How do you know if you made the right choice or not? How do you know what skills are killing you, right? Like those things aren't as clear as something like in League of Legends. And because now with everyone can use every weapon and whatever, the game is just so much more open. There's millions and millions and millions of potential builds. It's like really hard to keep track of all of that and then respond to all of it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that generally I think people agree with that sentiment, but in Guild Wars 2 it can feel kind of bad because you're like, I don't know why this person is better than me. I know that they are, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing though, especially from a content creator perspective, because that means that you can find a combination or something that people haven't done before, and if you have success on it, then you can be like, here it is, here's how you do it, here's how you have success on it, here's the rotation, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know a few people that do PvP content, and that's kind of what they do. And again, that's really fun and that's good for content creation. But I think even if you have those builds and things, how do I explain this? It's not really about the builds. It's like Guild Wars 2 is very skill dependent. Like knowing, because you played unranked Conquest, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we went into something. It was like A, B, C, and then we went around and we tried to catch like King of the Hill.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Conquest is really difficult for new players because at its core, it seems rather simple. There are 3 points on the map. You need to capture points. If you hold the points, you get, like every second, you essentially have points that tick up. First team to get to 500 wins. If you kill a player, you get 5 points as well. There are also little like advantages on each of the maps and whatever, just to sort of mix things up. But the issue with this is that is deceptively simple, but it's extremely complex when you factor in the millions of potential builds, because some builds are like hybrid builds, some builds are like bruiser builds where you're just trying to like get into the fight and hold a point. Some are bunker builds where it's like a notch up above a bruiser where you just like never die. There are builds that are more support builds, and so you're trying to stick with your teammates. And this gets complex because now you're factoring in, okay, I might know where to go, but where I go is dependent on where the enemies are on the map and where my allies are on the map and what my allies are playing and what my enemies are playing and the current situation in the game. So all of these variables like stack, right? Until a player goes, man, this thief came out of nowhere and just like gutted me. Like, how did that even happen? And like, why did I die?
I was playing a Guardian, and again, these are beta characters, so we're just like dropping into it. And I was just reading the abilities I had and like took a few stances and that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of like a bruiser support. If I'm near my teammates and I'm making these things happen, then I'm buffing my teammates. And by doing that, that's helping me. But as soon as we got into the game, it was so hard to keep up with our teammates and do that because they would split off in so many directions. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let me check my 1v1 potential. There's a guy over here. And I approached him, and then Jasmine comes over, and then a teammate comes over, and he is just annihilating all three of us. And I was like, okay, this guy is crazy. But maybe if I approach him at the same time as Jasmine and this other guy, it'll work out better. We tried that, and we lasted a while, but he still beat us. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, this guy is just...
Yeah, but we lasted a while.
Yeah, but we lasted a while.
The skill gap is so high. I guess that's what I should probably say. The skill gap, when I play, like, I would probably say I'm an average PvPer. I'm not super good. I'm not terrible. But when I play against players that are in the top 100, they absolutely run circles around me. There's no question. In the history of Guild Wars 2, I've been in the top 250, I think, 3 times. And I've played a lot of PvP matches. I used to exclusively play PvP. And I used to be able to understand the flow of the game much better. But as expansions have come out, again, the increase in variables combined with the speed and the APM requirements of the game increasing, I got older and then it got harder to do it. I don't know. It just got harder to keep up. And now when I lose to someone, it's like deep down, I kind of know why, but I also don't. I know that they're better than me, but I don't know why they're better than me, and I don't know how to fix it. That would frustrate
you so much.
Oh, it's exceptionally frustrating.
I think I have that problem in League of Legends sometimes now. I'll look and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll hit tab, see what items they have, and I'm like, I had those items last game. I couldn't do any of what they just did.
But here's the thing: in Guild Wars 2, you can't do that. You don't know what
you don't know their build.
You don't know what their build is. You don't know what amulet they have or items or what weapons they're using unless they use them on you. So this is kind of what I mean, right? Like, it's extremely opaque in Guild Wars 2. At the end of the match, you can't even know. You have no idea what build, rune, item, relic, whatever. You have no clue what people are using. You can't even
So
do
you
that in
kind of just
PvE.
guess based
Yeah,
off of like
you have
the
to
effect that's
completely
on
guess.
Seeing the
you,
abilities, yeah.
or can you kind of tell visually too?
So you have to, what you have to do if you want to be good at PvP, and this is why I say the skill cap is so big. You have to learn what every skill in the game does and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I'm too busy
otherwise,
doing
like,
that with
people are
other games.
surprising you constantly. And
This is like learning League all over again.
yeah, the game is so fast, right? Like people can kill you in like 2 seconds, right? Like they will delete you off the map. So you're kind of forced to, you have to proactively respond rather than reactively respond. So like I see an enemy approaching, I have to immediately evaluate based on all of the circumstances on the map, where my allies are. I have to think about, you know, what that person's cooldowns could be like. I have to think, okay, how am I going to mitigate damage before they even press a button? And that's why it's really difficult. Like PvP in Guild Wars 2 is exceptionally good. They tried to make it an esport way back in the day, to limited success. Do you want to hear a kind of a funny historical moment for Guild Wars 2?
Yes.
So they had several big PvP tournaments. People flew in, they played live, they live streamed it, thousands of people watched. It was like a big deal, right? Essentially they had a pro circuit. However, like many esports, it wasn't very successful, like financially, so eventually they cut it. But the real story comes in, I want to say it was, somebody's going to correct me, it was 2015 or 2016. And they had just recently released Heart of Thorns, I think. And they had this like big pro tournament. And when they released Heart of Thorns, they released the elite specialization, Chronomancer. Chronomancer on release was the most busted, like ridiculously overpowered thing in the entire game in PvP. It was essentially unkillable, right? Like it had blocks and blocks and blocks and distort and just all of these tools that made it nearly unkillable. So what teams would do is they would load up on Chronomancers, the bunker chrono, and they would just go sit on points and never die. So so they held a pro tournament without tweaking that balance. All the pros came, and live they had, everyone was playing bunker chronos, and they would all just fan out, each go to 1 point, and they would literally sit there for the entire game. The only way that you could get a point was if somebody made a mistake in just like, a good way to think about this is like, imagine if in basketball, rather than shooting the ball, it was just a dribbling competition. And so you were just sitting there dribbling, and eventually somebody got tired and they lost control of the ball. That's essentially what would happen. So, and then the problem with that is if you captured 1 point, it became almost impossible for the other team to come back. So what would end up happening is one of the most crazy things I've ever witnessed live. Again, 2015, 2016, I'm watching this live. The other team, it's just been like 7 minutes of essentially nothing happening. One guy makes one mistake, loses the point. The entire other team completely rage quits the game. They live in front of thousands of people. They all go, "We're not doing this," and they all log out.
What?
Oh no.
And that was the beginning of the end for Guild Wars 2 Pro PvP. But it's still a really cool game mode. And they're gonna, I think you probably heard, they're gonna release like a new game mode at some point. They've been beta testing it, called Push. So I'm excited for that. I've tested out Push. I've probably played 30 games of Push, and it's quite fun now. They've iterated on it several times. It's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, no, we're definitely, I come from an esports background, so like that, hearing that there's potential in the space definitely gets exciting. And then as content creators, I don't know if there's custom matches, but like the potential to be able to like host an event or something like that is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like some other community context about PvP?
Oh, please.
Please share it.
Sorry,
the tea.
PvPers, but look, I'm just gonna say it. There was recently a tournament that was supposed to happen that was canceled, and the reason it was canceled was not because of anything to do with the organization, but it was entirely to do with some of the top PvP players getting full out like permanently banned and also doing some like really egregious stuff. They I guess the best way to put this so that it's still like PG for the podcast is to just say they were Kanye West fans and they may have been playing his music on stream and agreeing with it.
No. Oh no.
Yeah.
That'll do
So imagine if like there aren't that many people that are like really competitive in PvP, and so a few of these teams have people that are like permanently banned from some community tournaments, and they had to cancel the tournament because they couldn't get enough teams because all of these people did that. There's also some like deep history where there have been people that have like paid some of these PvP players to like pilot accounts. These people sold accounts, and this is like well documented. Like this is legit. There's a lot of the top PvP players have done that because there's exclusive titles and items that you can get from winning the monthly tournaments. And so people have paid them to pilot accounts, and yeah, it's like a dark history, unfortunately, with Guild Wars 2. So when you're like, yeah, you could do some like really cool tournaments, I'm like, yeah, you can, but you have to like deal with them.
There's some deep lore there. There's some deep lore.
Yeah, but if you go to kind of more the micro, and you don't try to go to like the best PvP players, but you do like a more chill thing, yeah, the PvP people are actually super nice. Like Kiba's really cool. Kiba was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. There's like 4 or 5 different PvP people that I know that are like very nice, and yeah, that PvP scene is really positive. Yeah, Boyce is cool. But there's like a lot of people that are also slightly unhinged, so you just have to like be wary of them.
I feel like every MMO has their bad apples, you know. But I do have to shout out the community though. Out of all the MMOs that we've played, there's like I don't even think so far there's any that compares to community with Guild Wars 2.
It's similar to Final Fantasy,
in a
how
way.
they hold the main story in like high regard. No one is like doing the mechanics for us. And I don't know if that's just we've gotten really lucky with the people that have found our stream, but we did our first dungeon the other day and it felt like we got to really work through the dungeon.
Yeah, they waited for us and everything.
In almost every other MMO, we're like trailing behind everyone that's playing in the dungeon. And they're like pulling this lever and that door opened and that sort of thing. So then later down the line, we go to that same dungeon. It's like, we've done this dungeon before, but we're stuck. We don't know how to advance the dungeon.
Yeah, I feel like we
never did the puzzle or whatever the thing was.
Yeah, it feels like we advanced so far, and it's like we should know these things and know these mechanics, but like we would go in with people and they would trigger stuff and that we haven't seen or skipped cutscenes, and we have not even experienced anything like that with the Guild Wars 2 community. Even if we're obviously messing up on stream, they don't get frustrated and just be like, oh, you idiot, it's this, or you got to do this. They're just laughing and having a good time, enjoying new players figuring stuff out. And I really like this about the community we've experienced so far.
Yeah, I think the community in PvE in general is quite good. It's very interesting because I don't know exactly how I've only ever been like deeply involved in a community in Guild Wars 2, but I've sort of been around the community in something like old school RuneScape, so I can't really compare it exactly. But my experience with Guild Wars 2 is that it has its quirks, but that generally, if you're expressing genuine interest in learning, people are going to allow you the opportunity to learn. Especially if you're a streamer, people really like watching people experience the game for the first time because it kind of reminds them of when they were doing it. It also allows you to live vicariously through other people and experience what it's like to play the game new now versus 10 years ago. So people will generally be kind to you, generally. If you're not a streamer, I think it can be slightly more hit or miss, but people are, again, most people are good, kind people. And if you just express that you're trying to do a certain thing, you might get a troll every once in a while, but most people are going to see a post that's like, new player, need help, and they're going to come in and say, how can I help you? Like, what questions do you have? Let's hop in Discord. Like, they'll do whatever they can to make it a positive experience. The thing that gets really interesting, though, is I think the Guild Wars 2 has a very unique culture when it comes to like an improvement mindset and getting more skilled at the game. I would argue, well, actually, before I say what I think, you probably haven't experienced anything like that yet, right?
Well, you might have to elaborate a bit on what you mean by that.
Like somebody wanting to do more DPS or having a higher success rate on a boss or doing something faster.
I think that's pretty common in something like World of Warcraft. But with Final Fantasy, it's like frowned upon if anybody uses any type of add-on to like track DPS and that sort of thing. Like if somebody's like, oh, somebody has low DPS, they will actually like kick the person that's complaining about the DPS and get somebody else.
Interesting.
So it's like a weird reverse over there. And honestly, I didn't like that about the Final Fantasy community because it was like, yes, we can kick that person, but they were like pointing out a problem, and like now this problem persists and we're all trying to work through it. Like we could have given advice or helped this person get better.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, you're toxic for saying that somebody's not doing it well. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very interesting when we played FF14. Again, the story is amazing. There's just like, it's iffy with the community sometimes.
I suppose my opinion, and again, don't let this color your opinion of it too much because you may not experience this at all. But as somebody who's played the game for a very long time, I think that the community actually, not everyone, but I think that there's a subsection of the community that kind of dislikes people that are trying to improve or like get better, if that makes sense. So they like, it's okay. I guess a good example of this is, let's say I go to do a world boss, which I'm sure you've experienced a couple world bosses now just in your adventures. If I go to do that and I have the DPS meter up, there have been times when I am doing over 20% of the squad's damage with 50 people in it.
Jeez.
And this isn't like some kind of anomaly. Wow. And I'm not some super talented player. I'm talking like just putting on the proper gear and stats for a build and going in and just pressing buttons. Like you can be extremely impactful by doing that. But I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about systems in the game, and the game kind of doesn't really push you to improve on those systems because you always will get a gold medal kind of everywhere you go. So there's kind of this tension and conflict within the community because, put it this way, if you are always doing 20% of the squad's damage, at some point you sit back and go, I'm kind of one of the only ones doing anything. And you might not want to have that feeling or that thought, but inevitably you'll sit there and go, wait a second. The success or failure of this largely rests on my shoulders. Why isn't everybody else just a little, why isn't just even like a little bit more equal? And so you start to think, okay, well, maybe people just need that knowledge. And you start saying, hey, like we need to use proper builds here. People don't like that. A lot of people don't like
toxic,
that. They get really defensive about their builds and stuff. And it's a weird cultural thing because you can't inspect players' gear, as you've probably seen. Like you have no idea what people are running or not running. And as a consequence of that, it's really difficult to dissect problems. Like you have no idea why you're, just like in PvP, you don't know why the group is failing. And so it can feel kind of awkward. So it's a really interesting thing. And I don't know if it's necessarily unique to the Guild Wars 2 community, but there's sort of this like constant tension. And I think it even makes players feel a bit anxious because they might want to improve and get better, but they're like, I don't really know how. I don't really know what's good. I don't have any add-ons, so I have no idea if I'm contributing, and it makes them a little bit risk averse. Like they don't want to go in and try the harder content, even if they're prepared.
I think we saw that issue a lot with Throne and Liberty because people could private their profiles. And so you would have like these groups where it was like, okay, everything's going well. And then you would have sometimes where one or two people would have their profile privated and you start failing and you're like, well, I'm looking at everybody else's stuff and theirs is fine, but I can't see yours. And it's like, hey man, can I just like take a quick look? And they're like, you're toxic. It's like, okay, I just thought we could help you a little bit here.
It's a really hard balance because you want to respect when people would rather be left alone and figure things out on themselves. But if you're playing a team game,
it's costing everyone else.
Yeah,
time.
I feel like you don't have that luxury, right? If you're playing a team game, it should be open. Everybody should be able to see what you're using, what tools you have, because otherwise you just never know how to help. And when you frame it like that, it should be a thing it's about building teams and about positivity. But I think people can take that the wrong way. And I totally get that. If you're playing a game for leisure and relaxation, you don't want somebody saying, hey, buddy, you need to fix all your crap or you're like, we're never going to win, right? But I personally would always rather have the information. I'd rather know that I'm not prepared and go and prepare and then come back than go in unprepared and cost 10 people a whole bunch of time. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. It's really interesting back and forth. There's always a conflict with that.
I've been a esports coach and guild leader and many things and that sort of thing. Like I did collegiate esports coaching full time. And
really?
For
me,
what
it's
game?
Like for League?
For League of Legends,
Overwatch.
Because I was the head coach, it was like if a student had a game that they wanted to play and there was the opportunity to play other schools, we would just pick that game up. So it was a lot of games.
I'm assuming that's in the US because in Canada there's very few. It's just starting to make some waves. There's a lot of esports clubs, but not necessarily like ratified like teams or something.
Yeah, it was kind of the same here, but now it's really blown up because he was a part of esports teams in college, and then after college
it started to pick up.
He started to pick up, and that's when you got into League.
There's paid positions to be a coach and that sort of thing now, whereas when I was in college, our coach was a volunteer. So it's definitely changed pretty rapidly. But the point I'm trying to make is like a quick correction to me when I'm making it to somebody. It's just like, oh, it's very like they're receiving of it, you know, like they know that they want to get better. They're trying to help their team do better, that sort of thing. Like these are understandings we go in with because at the beginning of the year, we have like that meeting of like mindset and being respectful of other people's space. Like don't put your drink on somebody else's desk in the same way that you wouldn't do that if you're doing something together as a team and they're asking you to get better. That's because what you're doing is impacting them, that sort of thing. Like just that sort of mindset isn't as widely accepted in these spaces. And you see that a lot when you're doing something like going from a coach to a guild leader. You tell a guild member, hey, we got to do this better. They're like, I'm going to a different guild. I don't have to deal with this. It's like, okay, go to a different guild, man. Like you're going to be a problem to them as well. And that's why on the server, we just hit top 5 and you're going to be in the bottom 100. Like enjoy it.
Yeah. And as a duo, like when we do like PvP things or we're doing something that's competitive, it's crazy because I've played games, but nothing like this until, we met. We've been together like 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
And I went into gaming with that mindset where if he quickly just said, hey, don't use that ability or you're doing this wrong, like I take it. I'm like, okay, correct it, But it's so crazy. Sometimes we get people in stream like, don't talk to her that way. Or like, it's like, he's not being rude. Like, it's just weird. It's so weird. Because I just don't see it that way. I would love that he tells me. I don't want to be a fool and mess something up and same vice versa. So
sounds like you have a really good dynamic because I think a lot of people would get really defensive and do get really defensive about And I guess, like, if you were a coach, you totally get this. My wife's actually a basketball coach. That's why I use a lot of basketball analogies. We're like big basketball people. So both literally and metaphorically, I guess, because we're both quite tall. But anyway, you can, if you're a coach, you're just used to telling people, like, hey, like, as a matter of fact, this is what we need to do to succeed. Some people respond to that really well and some don't. And your job as a coach is to kind of learn and suss out how people respond to feedback and give them feedback in the way that best suits them. And that's a really challenging thing to learn. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence and a lot of practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it does. But I a lot of times you don't have time to be like, hey, you're not doing anything wrong, just letting it, like paint it or like describe why. Like it's got to be a quick, like, hey, don't do that, you got to do this instead. And I don't know, some people take it as snappy. I don't know, but it helps you improve. We're also competitive.
I'm just now super interested in both of you now. So you met like 7 years ago. One of you is an esports coach. Like that's really cool. Like, what are your backgrounds then?
We both worked at Best Buy, out of all things. He worked at Geek Squad. I worked in computers. And just throughout the time being there, we worked, I think it was like 2 years before we started dating. The whole like C-19 pandemic happened. And we were roommates for like 2 months because we needed a place, and we had just met. We're like, sure, we'll split a place. And it was great. It's like I never had a roommate. He just sat in his room, played League of Legends. And I occasionally would yell at his game. And then that reminded me I lived with someone. It was great. But yeah, like we got temporarily laid off. We got furloughed from our job. And we were just home all the time. And we're like, we want to hang out. We have nothing else to do. And so we decided to like start gaming. He let me use his computer and he showed me Sea of Thieves. You showed me.
Yeah, we started Sea of Thieves.
I was terrible. Oh my gosh, I was awful.
It's a great game, but it is stressful, especially when your teammate is not doing what they need to
do. Because I always played like, I grew up playing like PlayStation 2 and like Spyro and Star Fox and like, Sly Cooper or like Kingdom Hearts. Like I never played like PC shooter games or whatever. I was awful. But you were so patient with me. I was shocked, you know? I don't know. So then he's like, have you ever thought about being a streamer? And I was like, no. And so he made me an account and set up my stuff. And you could always see him in the background of my camera. And I was trying to stream and I don't know. And then like not even a week, we just became like a duo
it became a
thing.
Duo very quickly.
We saved up to get a $20 webcam for him. And then we became a duo. And then we realized, dang, we can make money from this. We like this. This is great. And then Best Buy.
I want to say it was like our second month of doing it. Somebody donated $100, and I was like, we could do this.
And so we're just like, how can we do this? We want to do this. And we ended up having to go back to work at Best Buy, and we're just miserable. We're like, we hate this. And so
use that employee discount.
We decided
bought way too many things that we should not have been able to afford.
We decided like, let's figure out what we can do to work from home. So that way we don't have to like we can dedicate our time to streaming, but also have like, income. So we already kind of planned on leaving Best Buy. So we're like, you know what, whatever, let's make our own business cards online. And we made our own tech company because he did Geek Squad. I did, I worked with computers. So we're like, we could do this together. And so we basically just, every time someone came into Geek Squad, we're like, here's our card.
Yeah.
Here's our card.
We'll do it for cheaper.
I'm not even lying, bro. And so we would meet.
Hey, what's worse is while doing that, she was able to maintain being the #1 employee in all of North America.
Every Best Buy. Yeah.
Literally the #1 sales and everything, while also siphoning off customers. So they had no idea.
Couldn't get a promotion either, whatever. So then
whoa, hold on. You were the #1 salesperson in North America, and you couldn't get to the what?
What's worse is everyone that worked there at Best Buy knew that she didn't eat anything dairy or anything like that.
I have an allergy.
Had an allergy, and we had like regional and national managers come to the store and they gave her a cake that she couldn't eat.
And then they did like a pizza party at work, and I was like, "Can I get one without cheese?" And they said no.
You were
I'm like, bro, but this is for me. Like, what is going on?
You were bringing in an absurd amount of revenue for them, and they did not respect you. That is crazy. Because I've worked in sales and marketing, right? And if you were the #1 salesperson in North America, you just put that on LinkedIn and then start looking for new sales jobs, and you'll get a good job pretty quick. That's pretty wild that they disrespect
realize
you
we're
like
I'm obviously good in sales, and I work with computers, like I can sell stuff, and he is like tech brain genius. It's insane. He ran Geek Squad, and so we're like, we could do this. Why don't we do it for ourselves? So then we're like, well, we want to leave this job anyways. If they catch us handing our cards out and fire us, oops, that sucks. We'll just find another one, They never did, but we basically just after work, we would go to somebody's house, set up something for them, pocket the money. And then eventually our business grew to a point we could do it full time. They knew we were dating. So it's like, we didn't want it to be obvious that we were, quitting to do something. So he quit first. And then I kept saying, oh no, I'm not quitting. And then I had 2 weeks of PTO. I put my 2 weeks of PTO, got it approved, and then I put my 2 weeks in right after I got it approved. So then I spent that 2 weeks of my PTO getting paid, and then
just concreting everything that we were doing
and streaming
and moving forward from there. But that was how we got started.
Yep, that's how we did it, cool. And and now we do it full time. We're very blessed to be able to now do it full time, but.
So you still run the business, but then you also do content creation as well.
No, we just content create now.
The business ended about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been able to stay full time without the business as of like 2.5 years ago. But yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you must do lots of things then, right? Like you probably do all the social media and everything.
Not as much as we should, but
we're really lucky with our Twitch community. We're very transparent. Like, hey, we're full time with this. This is how we want to do it. Anytime that if it looks like we're going to fall short on a month or something like that, because like just you have YouTube income, there's Twitch income, and then there's like a little bit from Patreon, that sort of thing. If anything is like falling short of what we need, we're like, hey guys, this isn't on you. We're just being transparent. This is where we're at. And, people might come through. If they don't, then it's like, hey, we're going to hit DoorDash, or I'm going to call up some old clients and see if they need work.
Yeah.
But it's just like making ends meet while also trying to grow at the same time. Full-time content creation is definitely not for everybody, but I think it is definitely achievable if you're transparent. Like,
yeah, honest.
You don't get on stream and beg for money. You just say like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. And then you move on. You just have a good time and do your content.
Or like, hey guys, it's a little bit low this month. We might start our stream with like an hour sponsor, if you want to, like, it's that kind of thing. Or we'll always find something to like.
Oh yeah. Keep I think honestly, the other thing too that a lot of people miss out on is if you're honest with your community, they'll be hyped for a sponsor, and then it becomes like this game thing of like, how hard can we hit this sponsor so that the next one you guys don't even have to interact with it? They'll just pay us to show it on screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
because we'll have those numbers and be like, hey guys, if we all download this mobile game and play it together, we can make a community day out of it. The next time we have a sponsor, they'll just pay us to show it on the screen. You don't even have to worry about it. Yeah. And then we end up like going way over what we thought we were going to do for that sponsor. So I don't know.
We have fun with those sponsors.
Yeah.
It's like a stream opener sometimes. We do them every so often. We don't do them like a lot, but yeah.
So. I've been sitting here the whole time just trying to place your accent. Just trying to like.
I'm Wisconsin. So and a mix of Southern. I moved to the South in 2016. He's from the South. So.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm confused, because I'm like, sounds like you're from slightly different places, but I can't quite.
Yeah.
Cool.
I probably have a little bit of a northern accent, so I'm from Wisconsin, and then I lived in the South.
I grew up in Georgia, but I also watched so much TV growing up that it was like a little bit of TV accent mixed in with some with some slang.
Yeah, Georgia's a place I've always wanted to go. I've never been to Georgia, but I heard it's really beautiful. And there's some cool stuff
It's
there.
hot.
It's great. You would love it.
Yeah, wow. That is such a cool story. I can't believe you had the guts to like siphon people off of Best Buy. That is so gutsy. Oh man.
It was actually like
we
her
so
being the number
out.
one person. Like, I'm not joking. They had like the $1 million club every year where it was like, oh, you've done over $1 million in sales or you hit $1 million. And people would get that in like November or December, if at all. And she got it in April.
Yeah,
and
like 3-4 months in.
But you didn't get commission at Best Buy.
No. And yeah.
So it was one of those things where if they did catch us 100%, they would just be like, we can't afford to get rid of them.
No.
This is like,
no.
I can't believe, again, like I've worked in tech sales and stuff. I'm thinking if you sold $1 million in tech sales, that's $100K in commission.
Gross.
If you did that by really April, you'd be really loving life, and you'd get promoted very quickly to like enterprise, and then your deals get bigger and bigger and bigger.
They didn't want to promote me because then I'm like not
on the floor
anymore, you know? So they
would
even
want to like have you train other employees. Like I'm very like I cannot imagine being the managers and just being like, why don't we just put her in this little hole and never.
All of the managers at that store got investigated and fired because after we left, it got like really obvious some of the things that they were doing behind closed doors. So
yeah,
it was bad.
It's so sad.
Yeah. But
good for you.
Like
right?
They wouldn't promote me. And then whenever I would question it and be like, hey, like, why am I not getting promoted? Like, what's going on? Like, you know how much I do. You know, an hour later, my boss would give me a $75 Amazon gift card and be like, hey,
under the table.
We don't just do this, you know, like we really appreciate you. And that would happen multiple times, or they'll buy me lunch, do stuff like that to keep me like quiet. And then I remember they begged me to apply for a management position at another store that was almost 2 hours from me. And they talked me into it. I went, did that interview. And before I went that interview, I like asked for advice. I said, what should I talk about? Because I have to put a packet together. And they said, talk about your skills, but don't talk about it based off of your numbers. Don't go in there and be like, I sold all of this.
Yeah,
and I thought that was weird. So I was like, I didn't. So the only thing that I even showed, is I had one sheet at the back of my like packet I gave them of all my skills and what I would bring to the table, just showing what my numbers were for like the year. And that was it. I only mentioned that. I said, hey, if you want to check it out, there's something on the back just with my numbers. And then they said the reason why I didn't get promoted was because I talked about my numbers too much. And I said, I literally said on the call, I said, you and I both know that's not true. They just wanted me to apply to show on the books that they gave me an opportunity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was weird.
That they provided me an opportunity to apply for a position, even though I didn't get it. And that was when I was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, we got away from corporate as fast as we could. If we deal with them now, it's because they're willing to pay us for something. That's it.
That is ridiculous. I'm angry for you, and this is long in the past and is totally irrelevant now. But I can't believe
I'm happy about it now. It got me here.
Yeah. Holy, that is incredible. Wow. I'm kind of speaking because I can't fathom doing that. But wow. Oh.
It's okay. We stole all their clientele.
Yeah, stole all their clients and left. It's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Oh my gosh, that is a crazy story. What? You were just cool people. That is a really cool story. How you met, Best Buy. It is a bit confusing that you became roommates and basically didn't talk for 2 months, but I'm glad you eventually spoke. That's cool.
Here's a gamer, addicted to League of Legends. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, I guess, somewhat isolating. But yeah, so cool. So cool. I guess kind of last topic of conversation is like, where do you see yourself going with Guild Wars 2 now? You've tried it out. Clearly, you're really enjoying it. You've said that it kind of fits all of these things you were looking for. One thing that a lot of people see in the Guild Wars 2 community is streamers come in, they try it for a little bit, and they're like, I think this is the greatest game ever. And then they play for like 2 weeks, and then they never play again. So I'm curious, is this like, are you thinking you'll play for a couple months? Are you making bigger plans in the future with the game? Are you just kind of content with where you are right now and seeing what happens? What's the situation?
We're definitely looking to feel it out more. We're not max level yet, so we don't know what that kind of looks like. I think a really good MMO will give you something that is a hamster wheel but doesn't feel like a hamster wheel, if that makes sense. Like something that you can repeat, achievements and that sort of thing. I opened the achievement area, and I really like the way that it looks. I like how it's set up and kind of broken down. I like that it gives rewards. It's not just like, good job, you did it. So I like the systems that are in it. I can see myself getting to max level and continuing to play it. But at our size that we're at, we also have a community that we bring with us wherever we go. So now that we're in Guild Wars 2, it's important to us that they're also enjoying it, that we're providing for them a guild with those same things to do. Like I said, that hamster wheel of things to do. And a big problem with the other MMOs that we've tried that we're hoping that Guild Wars 2 can solve is that there are collective things to do and not just solo stuff. Black Desert Online was like almost completely solo at max level for things that you would do on repeat. Elder Scrolls Online, it felt like if you were doing things in a group, you were just cosmetic hunting. It wasn't like something that was benefiting you as an individual. So we're hoping that Guild Wars 2, once we hit max level, when we get 5 people in a group or 10 people in a group, we're all benefiting from doing something together, and we're just like enjoying our time, basically. And so far, it seems like that can happen, and that the systems are in place for that to happen in Guild Wars 2.
Very cool. Yeah, I look forward to your adventures now. I really do. I think this will be really interesting. So I'm mostly known for my guild called the Skane Gang, where we do raids and stuff. And you have a formal invitation now. When you're ready to do raids, if you'd like some help, some advice, some prep for them, or if you'd like me to just be a coach, I've done that for teams. We do mentored teams. I'd even do it in like a blind situation where you could go in blind. I wouldn't give you any advice, but then when you get stuck, you can be like, okay, coach, like, how do we overcome this? But if you ever want something like that,
fun.
I'm totally happy to collab and help you with that. We have 130
absolutely.
raid teams or something now. I've lost track.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people raiding, and the Skane Gang would stand behind you and your community to help you get into that more difficult content when you're ready. But take your time. That's my biggest advice. Is take your time. Sounds like you're enjoying all the little things. And I think, like I expressed at the beginning of our conversation here, I take for granted some of those little things now that I've played for thousands of hours. And it makes me smile to think that, or to know that you folks are experiencing that. And then it reminds me to be grateful. Yeah, I love that. So keep doing what you're doing, and don't race to the finish or anything. Just stroll through Tyria, do the personal story, have a good time, and I'm sure you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest comments we get is like, "Oh, they changed this. Oh, they changed that." So it's
I didn't know
nice that we're
that.
enjoying it, but also some veteran players are like, "Oh, this isn't what it was when I was going through it. This does seem better." So I think it's also encouraging a lot of people to get back into the game, give it another try. Because if they've changed these things kind of like at the beginning, then the things later on are probably also better at this point.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to
And
not
there's
have
little
the
things
mount.
that we figure out. There's little things that we like figure out just through playing. And there's been some veteran players that are like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Like I remember one was they know you can auto cast an ability where you like right click it, but they didn't know about that you could do that with the pet.
Yeah, that you could give the pen.
And there were some people that didn't know that, and they're like, well, "I've played for so long, I didn't know that." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." So I don't know. I think it's cool watching a new players because then you might have missed something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. Like there's stuff I learn all the time about the game, whether it's some intricate thing about a specific profession or even something with the UI, right? Like it's weird that there are all these little things that people don't know about, and you just sort of naturally discover them by watching somebody else's stream or YouTube video or chatting with a friend. It's one of the joys about playing MMOs, is just learning how everything works and improving a little bit each time.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you both for taking the time. I know it was kind of last minute. I was like, let's do this Wednesday. And you two are just like, heck yeah, let's go.
We're down.
So it's been great having you. And your perspective as new players is so cool. I know you're so fresh. And the whole time I'm thinking, okay, there's probably lots of other things we could talk about too, but we'll probably have to revisit this in a month or two when you experience more of the game, because then it'll be really interesting to hear how you got to max level and like what you experienced at that kind of fork in the road for what to do. So we will see. But yeah, thank you both so much. Do you have tell the YouTube video people where they can find you, what the best way to check out your content is?
Yeah, we're Gulak School on everything. Yeah. We just dropped our first video with Guild Wars 2 content on YouTube, which was our first ever dungeon. Yeah.
Awesome.
Our first dungeon. But yeah, we're Gulak School on everything. Gulak School on Twitch is where we mainly stream. And yeah, we are like 6 days, I think almost a week into playing the game. And we've been playing it every single day.
Already dropped $100.
We did. Well, we waited for, because we heard the anniversary sale or like the beta drop sale was coming. I'm glad we waited because we got that like half off deal.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. But thank you so much for having us. This was fun. I'm sure if we do this again and we have more, we all plan, our camera might look better, but
I actually
we dug out the webcam for this.
It worked out perfectly, actually. For some reason, it was only bad right before I hit record. So we actually did just fine. I think it might have froze once in like this whole hour and 20, hour and a half kind of thing. So that's pretty wild.
Well, hopefully it wasn't us making a face like,
No,
not stuck on that.
It fixed itself quite quickly. But yeah, thank you so much. Go check them. Go click. I'll have links in the description. Go click those links. And people, leave a comment. When did you first start playing Guild Wars 2? What was your experience like as a new player? Or are you new right now? And what's your experience like now? Leave that comment, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.